I found the GPS tracker at 2 a.m., stuck under my truck like a parasite, and instead of calling the cops, I mailed it to a random stranger in England just to mess with whoever was watching me. 3 days later, a woman's voice shattered my phone at 4 a.m., screaming that I'd just signed my own death warrant. She said my ex-business partner hired a mechanic to cut my brake lines in 72 hours. She said she'd been tracking me for 3 weeks to keep me alive. And when she showed me the emails, the insurance policy, the hitman, the timeline, I realized the woman stalking me was the only thing standing between me and a mountain grave. But here's the part that still keeps me up at night. She was married to my would-be killer's cousin. The same cousin who'd been watching both of us this entire time. And what he did next didn't just save my life, it changed everything I thought I knew about trust, surveillance, and falling in love with the person who's been following your every move. I found a tracker under my truck, so I sent it to England. Then I got a terrifying call. True story. I found the GPS tracker at 2 a.m. in a rest stop outside Amarillo, stuck to my truck's undercarriage like a tick on a dog's neck, and when I mailed it to a stranger in Manchester, England, I thought I was being clever. 3 days later, a woman's voice shattered my phone screen at 4 a.m., sobbing, screaming that I'd just signed my own death warrant. She was right. But not in the way I thought. The thing about driving 18-wheelers cross-country for 3 years straight is that you start to forget what it feels like to be seen. Not looked at, I got plenty of that. Truck stop waitresses glancing at my left hand to check for a ring. Other drivers nodding as they passed. Gas station clerks making small talk about the weather. But seen. Actually known. That was a language I'd stopped speaking the day I found my ex-wife in bed with my business partner, Derek Chen. That was 42 months ago. I'd counted every single one. Now, at 38 years old, I was a ghost who happened to drive a Kenworth T680 hauling electronics from Seattle to Atlanta and back again. I had an apartment in Portland I visited maybe 6 days a month. I had a cat my neighbor fed. I had a life that fit in a duffel bag. And I liked it that way. Trust was for people who hadn't learned yet. It was 2:17 a.m. when I found the tracker. I was doing my usual walk-around inspection at a rest stop outside Amarillo, checking tires, lights, the fifth-wheel coupling. I'd just crawled under the trailer to inspect the landing gear when my flashlight beam caught something that didn't belong. A small black box, about the size of a deck of cards, magnetically clamped to the frame. My blood went cold. I knew what it was immediately. I'd seen enough crime shows, heard enough stories from other drivers about cargo theft rings. GPS tracker. Professional grade, from the look of it. Someone was watching me. I pulled it off carefully, like it might explode. Turned it over in my hands. No labels, no identifying marks. Just a smooth black surface with a small LED that blinked green every 3 seconds. Blink, blink, blink. How long has this been here? My mind raced backward. When was the last time I'd done an underneath inspection? 2 weeks. 3. I'd been lazy, relying on the shop to check things during my last maintenance stop. Someone had been tracking my every move for weeks, maybe longer. The rest stop was nearly empty, just my rig, an RV, and a sedan parked under the flickering lights. The night was Texas big and silent except for the hum of distant highway traffic. I should have called the police. Instead, I stood there in the shadows beneath my truck, holding this piece of surveillance technology, and I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Rage. Pure, cold, clarifying rage. Someone thought they could watch me, follow me, invade the one thing I had left, my solitude, my route, my escape. Not anymore. I slipped the tracker into my pocket and climbed back into my cab. Locked the doors. Sat in the darkness, thinking. Whoever was tracking me was watching right now. Watching me sit here. Probably wondering why I'd stopped moving. Maybe getting nervous. Good. Let them sweat. I pulled out my phone and opened a browser. Started searching. Random address generator England. I needed somewhere far. Somewhere that would make them panic. A small smile crossed my face, the first genuine expression I'd worn in months. I had a plan. Across the country, in a cramped studio apartment in Brooklyn, Natalie Chen sat hunched over her laptop, watching a blued that had stopped moving. Please don't find it. Please don't find it. Please don't find it. She'd been chanting this mantra for 3 weeks straight, ever since she'd made the worst decision of her life and attached that tracker to a stranger's truck. No, The worst decision had been hacking into her employer's server 6 months ago when she'd noticed the suspicious insurance claims pattern. The second worst decision had been following the digital trail that led to Derek Chen, her ex-husband's business associate. The third worst decision had been discovering Derek's plan to sabotage his former partner's truck and claim the insurance money. And the absolute worst decision: trying to protect that former partner, a man named Jake Morrison, without involving the police, because doing so would expose her illegal access to confidential files and destroy the career she'd rebuilt after escaping her nightmare marriage. So she'd bought a tracker with cash, driven to Portland, waited until 3 a.m. in a truck stop parking lot, wearing gloves and a hoodie, and stuck it to Jake Morrison's undercarriage like some kind of deranged guardian angel. She'd told herself she just needed to watch him until she figured out Derek's timeline, until she could find legal evidence, until she could warn Jake without exposing herself. But it had been 3 weeks, and Derek was getting impatient. She'd intercepted emails about accelerating the timeline, about the Nevada route being perfect, isolated, lots of mountain curves. Jake was hauling through Nevada in 4 days, and now his truck had stopped moving at 2:17 a.m. and hadn't budged for 20 minutes. Natalie's hand shook as she zoomed in on the map. Amarillo rest stop. Middle of nowhere. He found it. No, no, no. She whispered to her empty apartment. If he found it, he'd throw it away. Or call the police. They'd trace it somehow. She didn't know how, but they would. And Derek would know someone was onto him. He'd accelerate his plan, or worse, he'd figure out it was her. Her phone sat on the desk, Jake's number already programmed in. She'd gotten it from the trucking company's public contact page. Had almost called a dozen times. Always chickened out. What would she even say? Hi, you don't know me, but your ex-business partner is trying to kill you, and I know this because I illegally hacked into corporate servers, and also I've been stalking you for 3 weeks, but trust me, I'm one of the good guys? Yeah. That would go well. The blue dot started moving again. Natalie's heart leaped. Maybe he hadn't found it. Maybe. She watched as the dot drove to a 24-hour FedEx location. Then stopped. Natalie's screen showed the tracker's location updating every 30 seconds. Jake's truck was definitely at FedEx. 4:45 minutes. Then it moved again. Back to the highway. Continuing east. But something felt wrong. She checked the tracker's detailed logs. Movement patterns. The way it had been jostled when he'd pulled it off the undercarriage was right there in the accelerometer data. He knows. 2 days later, Natalie watched in growing horror as her tracker's signal did something impossible. It boarded a flight to London. Have you ever felt watched? That creeping sensation that someone knows more about you than they should? Drop a comment about the strangest coincidence or moment of paranoia you've experienced, because what happened next made me question everything I thought I knew about being followed. I watched the FedEx tracking update from a diner in Oklahoma City. Coffee going cold in front of me. Package delivered. Manchester, England. Signed by A. Patterson. Poor A. Patterson. Some random person whose address I'd pulled from a UK phone directory website. They were probably staring at a small black box right now, completely baffled. I imagined my stalker's face when they saw their precious tracker ping from across the Atlantic. The confusion. The panic. The slow realization that I knew. It felt good. Better than good. It felt like control. For 3 years, I'd been running from ghosts, from my ex-wife's betrayal, from Derek's smug face at the divorce proceedings, from the business we'd built together that he'd stolen right out from under me. I'd surrendered everything just to escape the humiliation. But this was me fighting back against someone who thought they could invade my space. My phone sat on the table, silent. I'd half expected something, a call, a message, something. But there was nothing. Maybe whoever was tracking me had given up. Maybe they'd realized they'd messed with the wrong person. I paid for my coffee and headed back to my truck. The route from Oklahoma City to Little Rock was familiar, almost meditative. 4 hours of highway, flat landscape, and the hum of the engine. I'd driven it 100 times. My mind could wander, and it did, back to the tracker, forward to my delivery schedule, sideways to memories I usually kept locked away. That's probably why I didn't notice the blocked call until it had rung 4 times. I almost didn't answer. Blocked calls were always spam, car warranty scams or political surveys. But something made me tap the screen. Yeah, Oh, thank God. A woman's voice, breathless and shaking. You answered. You actually answered. I frowned. Who is this? Listen to me very carefully. Her words tumbled out fast, desperate. I know this sounds insane, and I know you have no reason to trust me, but you're in danger. Serious danger. I've been trying to. You've been tracking me, I cut her off, my voice going cold and hard. I found your little toy. Mailed it to England. So whatever game you're playing. It's not a game. Her voice cracked, and I heard something that sounded like a sob. Jake Morrison, you drive a 2019 Kenworth T680, license plate Oregon 847 JMK. You haul electronics for Pacific Northwest Logistics. Your route is Seattle to Atlanta every 2 weeks. You stop at the same truck stops, eat at the same diners, and someone is going to kill you in the next 72 hours. My blood turned to ice. She knew everything. Every detail. How do you? Your ex-business partner, Derek Chen. He took out a $2 million insurance policy on your truck and cargo 6 months ago. He's planning to sabotage your brake lines on the Nevada mountain route and make it look like an accident. You're supposed to die in 4 days, Jake. And I sent you that tracker because I didn't know how else to keep you safe without. I hung up. My hands were shaking. The truck swerved slightly before I corrected. Derek. The name hit me like a physical blow. I hadn't spoken it out loud in 3 years. Hadn't let myself think about him, about the way he'd smiled at my wedding, been best man at the ceremony, godfather to the child my ex-wife and I never got around to having. About the way he'd looked at me across the conference table when our lawyers were dividing assets, his expression almost pitying, like I was a child who didn't understand how the adult world worked. He'd kept the business. Kept everything we'd built. I'd walked away with my truck and my dignity, or what was left of it. And now this woman, this stalker, wanted me to believe Derek was trying to kill me? My phone rang again. Blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again immediately. And again. And again. On the 5th call, I answered just to scream at her to stop. Jake, please. I don't know what kind of scam this is, but I'm not interested. You want money. You want me to be scared. Congratulations. Now leave me alone before I call the cops and report you for stalking. I have proof. Her voice was quieter now, but steady, determined. I work in cybersecurity. I found the insurance policy, the emails between Derek and a mechanic in Reno, the timeline, everything. I can send it to you right now. Then send it to the police. Silence stretched between us. I can't, she finally whispered. Why not? Because I got the information illegally. I hacked into servers I shouldn't have accessed. If I go to the police, I lose everything, my career, my freedom. I'll go to prison for corporate espionage. And Derek will just find another way to. So you put a tracker on my truck instead? You stalked me for weeks. Lady, you sound completely insane. I know how it sounds. Her voice broke again, and this time I heard the tears clearly. I know, okay? I know I sound like a crazy person. But I watched my ex-husband use surveillance to control me for 5 years. I know what it feels like to be watched, to be hunted. And when I found out Derek was planning this, I couldn't just let it happen. I couldn't let someone else become a victim when I had the power to stop it. Something in her voice caught me, the raw pain beneath the words. What's your name? I asked quietly. A pause. Then, Natalie. Natalie what? Another pause, longer this time. Natalie Chen. I was married to Derek's cousin, Raymond. We divorced 2 years ago after he put me in the hospital. Derek helped him hide assets during our divorce. I know what kind of man he is. Chen. The name connected in my mind like a circuit completing. Derek mentioned a cousin, I said slowly. Raymond Chen. Said he was FBI or something. He was a private investigator who told people he was FBI. He also liked to practice his surveillance techniques on his wife. And when I finally tried to leave, he made sure everyone knew I was unstable. Paranoid. Delusional. The court didn't believe me because he documented everything so carefully. Made me look crazy. Her voice had gone flat, dead. The voice of someone who'd told this story too many times to people who didn't believe her. So yeah, she continued. I know how this sounds. I know you think I'm some obsessed stalker. But I'm the only person who knows what Derek is planning, and I'm the only person trying to stop it. So you can hang up again. You can block this number. You can keep driving toward Nevada and hope I'm wrong. Or you can pull over somewhere safe and look at the files I'm about to send you. My exit was coming up. Little Rock. I could stop at the usual truck stop, grab dinner, sleep for 6 hours. Or I could keep driving. Put distance between myself and this insanity. Send the files, I heard myself say. 3 minutes later, my phone chimed. Email from an encrypted address. I pulled into the truck stop, parked in the back corner under a flickering light, and opened the attachment. The first document was an insurance policy. Pacific Northwest Logistics. Vehicle. 2019 Kenworth T680. Insured value. $2.1 million including cargo. Policyholder. Derek Chen. Beneficiary. Derek Chen. Effective date. 6 months ago. My stomach turned. The second document was an email chain. Derek's corporate email to someone named T. Martinez, Martinez Auto Repair, Reno, NV. Subject. Consultation. Brake system failure. T. Martinez. Following up on our phone conversation. I need a consultation on what would cause catastrophic brake failure on a 2019 Kenworth T680 on a mountain descent. Specifically, what modifications could create a delayed failure, something that would appear to be equipment malfunction rather than tampering. Timeline is flexible but prefer within the next 30 days. Compensation as discussed, $50,000, half up front. D. Chen. The response. D. Chen, can do. Brake line compression fitting with microfracture will fail after 200 to 300 miles, perfect for mountain route stress. Undetectable in standard inspection. When's the truck in my area? TM. There were more emails. Discussions of my route schedule. My usual stops. The Nevada mountain pass I always took because it saved 40 minutes. The last email was dated 3 days ago. Timeline moved up. Truck will be in Reno area November 18th to 19th. Window is tight. Confirmation. November 18th was in 4 days. I sat in my truck cab, hands shaking, staring at proof that my ex-business partner, the man who'd already stolen my wife, my business, my past, was now trying to steal my future. Permanently. My phone rang. Natalie. This time, I answered on the first ring. I'm listening, I said. Where are you right now? Natalie's voice was urgent but controlled, like she'd been preparing for this conversation. Little Rock. Truck stop off I-40. Stay there. Don't move. I need to think. Think about what? You just sent me proof that someone's trying to murder me. I'm calling the police. No. The word came out sharp, panicked. Jake, please. If you call the police, they'll investigate. They'll find out how I got this information. I'll be arrested for hacking. And Derek will know someone's onto him. He'll either accelerate his timeline or find another way. A way we won't see coming. So what do you suggest? I just keep driving toward my own murder. No. God, no. I suggest. She trailed off, and I heard the sound of her pacing, her breath coming faster. I don't know. I've been trying to figure this out for 3 weeks. I thought if I kept tracking you, I could warn you if he made a move. I could call in an anonymous tip if someone approached your truck. I could. You could what? Watch me die in real time from your apartment in wherever the hell you are. Brooklyn, she said quietly. I'm in Brooklyn. And I know this is insane. I know I've handled this all wrong. But I was trying to protect you without destroying myself in the process. Is that really so hard to understand? I wanted to yell at her. To tell her that her problems weren't my problems, that she should have gone to the police from the start, that tracking me was violation enough without dragging me into her criminal activities. But I couldn't. Because I understood exactly what she was doing. I'd spent 3 years running from my past, avoiding anything that might require me to trust another human being, building walls so high that I'd rather die alone than risk being hurt again. And here was someone who'd risked everything, her career, her freedom, to protect a total stranger. Because she knew what it felt like to be a victim. This Martinez guy, I said, changing tactics. The mechanic in Reno. When's he supposed to sabotage my truck? According to the emails, when you stop for your usual overnight in Reno on the 18th. You always park at the Big Sky truck stop, right? Sleep for 8 hours, then take the morning route through the mountains. She was right. I did exactly that every trip. So I change my route. Skip Reno entirely. Go around. And then what? Derek just waits for another opportunity. Jake, this isn't about one attempted murder. This is about a man who's willing to kill you for insurance money. If we don't stop him properly, with evidence that can put him away, he'll just try again. We. I caught the word. There is no we. You're some random woman who's been stalking me. For all I know, this is all an elaborate setup. Maybe you're working with Derek. Maybe this whole thing is designed to. To what? Her voice went cold. To make you paranoid? To isolate you from help? Jake, if I wanted to hurt you, I've had 3 weeks of knowing your exact location. I could have done it 100 times over. She was right. But admitting that meant trusting her, and I'd sworn I'd never trust anyone again. Send me a picture, I said suddenly. What? A picture. Of yourself. If we're going to have this conversation, I want to see who I'm talking to. Silence. Then my phone chimed. Image attachment. I opened it. The woman in the photo was maybe 35, with dark hair pulled back in a messy bun, glasses, no makeup. She was sitting in what looked like a small apartment, her laptop open in front of her showing lines of code. But what caught me was her eyes, exhausted, wary, but determined. The eyes of someone who'd been through hell and come out the other side still fighting. Raymond gave me that look, she said quietly. That prove yourself look. Like my word meant nothing without evidence. Like my pain wasn't real unless I could document it. Shame washed over me. I'm sorry. Don't be. I get it. I'm asking you to trust a stranger who's been invading your privacy for weeks. Trust isn't supposed to be easy. If it were, people like Derek and Raymond wouldn't be able to exploit it. I stared at the photo for another long moment. Okay, I said finally. Let's say I believe you. Let's say Derek really is trying to kill me. What's your plan? I don't have one. Her honesty was almost refreshing. I've been making this up as I go. My only plan was to keep you alive long enough to figure out a real plan. Great. 2 people with no plan trying to outsmart a murderer. What could go wrong? Everything, she said, and I heard a trace of dark humor in her voice. Pretty much everything. Despite myself, I almost smiled. Then reality crashed back. I have a delivery scheduled in Atlanta in 2 days. If I don't make it, I breach my contract. I lose my job. This truck is all I have left, Natalie. I can't just abandon my route based on evidence of a murder plot. She cut me off. Jake, what good is your truck if you're dead? And what good is my life if I'm unemployed and homeless? We sat in frustrated silence, 2 strangers on opposite ends of the country, both trapped by circumstances neither of us had created. What if you confronted him? Natalie suggested. Called Derek, told him you know about the insurance policy. That might scare him off. Or accelerate his timeline. If he thinks I know, he might act immediately. Send someone to my location right now. Then what? I looked out at the truck stop, the fluorescent lights, the handful of other rigs, the 24-hour diner where I'd eaten 1,000 identical meals. I was so tired of running. I want to meet you, I said. What? You're in Brooklyn. I can reroute through New York. My delivery can wait 1 day. I'll take the penalty fee. We meet in person, you show me everything you have, and we figure this out together. Face to face. Jake, that adds 8 hours to your route. And if Derek's tracking your truck? He's not anymore, remember? You were the only one tracking me, and that tracker's in England now. Unless he has another one we don't know about. The thought made my skin crawl. Then I guess we're both taking a risk, I said. You, by revealing yourself to someone who might turn you in. Me, by trusting someone I've never met. Seems fair. Another long pause. There's a truck stop in northern New Jersey, she finally said. Vince Lombardi service area on the turnpike. I can be there tomorrow afternoon. 3 o'clock. How will I know you? I'll be the terrified woman sitting alone in the food court, wondering if she's about to get arrested or murdered. This time I did smile. See you tomorrow, Natalie. I hung up and sat in the dark cab, processing everything. Somewhere in my gut, beneath the layers of suspicion and self-protection, something felt right about this. Like maybe, for the first time in 3 years, I was moving toward something instead of away from it. Or maybe I was driving straight into a trap. I started the engine and pulled back onto the highway, pointing my truck east instead of south. Toward Atlanta eventually. But toward New York first. Toward answers. Toward a woman who'd broken a dozen laws to save my life. Toward whatever the hell came next. The Vince Lombardi service area was exactly as depressing as every other highway rest stop. Fluorescent lights, overpriced food, and the perpetual smell of diesel and industrial cleaner. I parked my rig in the truck lot and walked to the main building, scanning the food court. She was exactly where she said she'd be. Natalie Chen sat at a corner table, laptop open but untouched, a paper coffee cup cooling in front of her. She was wearing jeans and a worn Columbia jacket, her dark hair loose around her shoulders instead of pulled back like in the photo. She looked younger in person. More vulnerable. When our eyes met, she stood abruptly, and I saw her hand shaking. I walked over, hyper-aware of every detail. Her height, maybe 5'6". The scar on her left eyebrow, small but visible. The way she held herself, like she was ready to run at any second. Jake. Her voice was quieter than on the phone. Natalie. We stood there awkwardly for a moment, two strangers who knew too much and too little about each other. Should we sit? She finally asked. I nodded and slid into the booth across from her. Up close, I could see the exhaustion carved into her face. The shadows under her eyes. The way her fingers drummed nervously against her coffee cup. You look different than I expected, she said. Yeah. What did you expect? I don't know. Someone harder, maybe. Angrier. You've been through a lot. So have you. She flinched slightly, then nodded. I brought everything, she said, turning her laptop toward me. Every file I have on Derek. The insurance policy, the emails, the payment records. I also pulled his financials. He's been bleeding money for 6 months. That's probably why he's doing this. The business you two built is failing, and he needs a payout. I stared at the screen, at the careful documentation of Derek's desperation. How did you even find all this? My job is penetration testing. Companies hire me to try to hack them so they can fix vulnerabilities. Derek's company was a client 3 months ago. I was supposed to test their security. Instead, I found all of this. She gestured at the laptop. And I knew I should report it through proper channels. But the second I did that, I'd have to admit I accessed files beyond my authorization. I'd lose my security clearance, my job, everything. So you've been sitting on proof of a murder plot for 3 months because you were scared of the consequences. Her eyes flashed. Yes. Because the last time I tried to expose someone powerful with evidence, they destroyed my credibility so thoroughly that no one believed a word I said. Raymond made sure of that. So forgive me for being cautious about ruining my life a second time. I held up my hands. I'm sorry. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. And you're right to question me. I've made terrible choices. I should have gone to the police immediately. But I was scared, and I thought I could just watch you. Keep you safe without getting involved. Clearly, that didn't work. She closed the laptop abruptly and stood. This was a mistake. I'll email you everything I have. You can take it to the police yourself. Tell them an anonymous source sent it. They'll investigate Derek, and you'll be safe. I'll deal with the consequences. She grabbed her bag. Natalie, wait. But she was already walking away, moving fast toward the exit. I caught up with her in the parking lot, grabbing her arm gently. Stop. Please. She turned, and I saw tears on her face. I'm sorry, I said. I'm an asshole. I spent 3 years trusting no one, and now I'm taking it out on the one person who's actually trying to help me. Please. Come back inside. Let's figure this out. Why? Her voice broke. Why do you even care? Take the files. Protect yourself. You don't owe me anything. Because you're right, I said quietly. About what Derek did to me. About what Raymond did to you. About how people like them win by making us too afraid to trust anyone. And I'm tired of letting them win. She stared at me, searching my face for something. Sincerity, maybe. Or just a reason to hope. I drove 8 hours out of my way to meet a woman who's been stalking me, I continued. I think that entitles me to at least buy you dinner before we plan how to take down my would-be murderer. A weak smile crossed her face. Dinner at a highway rest stop. How romantic. I'm a long-haul trucker. This is as romantic as it gets. She laughed, a small, genuine sound that transformed her face completely. Okay, she said. Okay. Dinner. Then we plan. We ended up at a booth in the back of the food court, away from the sparse crowd. I got a burger that tasted like cardboard. She got a salad she barely touched. But we talked. Really talked. She told me about Raymond. About how he'd seemed so perfect at first, attentive, protective, successful. About how the protection had slowly morphed into control. How he'd installed cameras in their apartment for security. How he'd tracked her phone in case of emergencies. How by the time she realized she was in a cage, the door had already locked. He documented everything, she said, pushing lettuce around her plate. Every time I got upset, he recorded it. Every time I questioned him, he made notes. So when I finally went to court with bruises on my arms and fear in my eyes, he had 2 years of evidence that I was unstable. Paranoid. Prone to self-harm. The judge believed him over me because he had documentation. That's why you're good at this, I said quietly. The surveillance. The tracking. He taught you. He taught me how to be a victim who fights back. She met my eyes. And then I rebuilt myself in tech security so I'd never be vulnerable again. Learned every trick, every system, every way to see threats coming. And when I saw Derek's plan, I couldn't not act. Even if it meant becoming what I hate most. A stalker. A person who violates someone else's privacy for their own reasons. Even if those reasons are good. I reached across the table and took her hand. She froze, her eyes going wide. Thank you, I said. For caring enough to violate my privacy. For taking the risk. For tracking a stranger because you couldn't stand to see someone else get hurt. Her eyes filled with tears again. You're welcome, she whispered. We sat like that for a moment, hands linked across a shitty rest stop table, 2 damaged people who'd found each other in the wreckage. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I pulled my hand back and checked the screen. Text message, I know she's with you. Both of you should run. My blood went cold. Natalie. Look. I showed her the message. Her face went pale. That's not Derek's number. Then who? Another message. Derek isn't the only problem. Check your truck. Now. I was on my feet before I finished reading, running for the parking lot, Natalie close behind me. My rig sat where I'd left it, looking normal. I circled it slowly, checking every angle, every shadow. That's when I saw him. A man in a mechanic's uniform crouched near my rear wheels, a toolbox open beside him. He looked up as I approached, and his hand moved to his waistband. Stop right there, he said, pulling out a pistol. Both of you. Don't move. The man with the gun was maybe 50, weathered face, grease under his fingernails. His name patch read T. Martinez. You're the mechanic from Reno, Natalie said, her voice shaking. Derek hired you. Derek hired me to do a job in 4 days, Martinez said, keeping the gun trained on us. Then this morning he called, all panicked, saying the timeline moved up. Said his target was meeting with someone in New Jersey, and I needed to get here fast and finish it tonight. So why are you pointing a gun at us instead of just doing it? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, because 30 minutes ago, someone sent me a file with my name on it. He pulled a phone from his pocket with his free hand, tapped the screen. Every email between me and Derek. Every payment record. Every detail of our arrangement. Along with a message, walk away now or I send this to the FBI. Natalie and I exchanged glances. I didn't send that, she whispered. Neither did I. Martinez laughed bitterly. Yeah, I figured. Which means someone else knows about this whole thing. Someone who's been watching all of us. Who? I demanded. No idea. But I'm not going to prison for Derek Chen's insurance fraud. So I'm going to walk away from this job, get in my van, and drive back to Nevada. And you two are going to pretend you never saw me. Why would we do that? Natalie challenged. We have proof you were hired to commit murder. Because I have proof Derek hired me. Martinez lowered the gun slightly. And I'm willing to testify against him if it means I get immunity. I'll give the feds everything, recordings, texts, the whole deal. Derek goes to prison, I walk, you stay alive. Everybody wins except the asshole who tried to orchestrate a murder. It was too good to be true. What's the catch? I asked. No catch. I'm a mechanic, not a killer. Derek told me this was about sabotaging a competitor's truck. Made it sound like corporate warfare. I didn't know he was actually trying to kill someone until I started digging deeper. He gestured at my rig. That's why I haven't done anything yet. I was trying to figure out if I could go through with it. And then I got that file, and I realized I'm in way over my head. So I'm out. You want Derek? Take him. But I need protection. Witness protection, immunity, the works. My phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. Martinez is telling the truth. Get him to the FBI field office in Newark. I'll send coordinates. You have 2 hours before Derek realizes his mechanic isn't responding. Who the hell is sending these? I looked at Natalie. She shook her head, pulling out her own laptop. I'm tracking the messages. They're bouncing through multiple VPNs, but the origin point is. She typed furiously. Brooklyn. My neighborhood. Someone within a few blocks of my apartment. Raymond, she breathed. It has to be Raymond. He must have been monitoring me. Saw what I was doing and decided to. To what? I interrupted. Help us. Why would your abusive ex-husband help take down his cousin? I don't know. Her voice pitched higher, panic setting in. Maybe he's been watching me since the divorce. Maybe he knows I hacked Derek's files and is using this too. Her laptop chimed. New email. From Raymond Chen's old email address, the one Natalie told me she'd blocked years ago. Subject, the truth about Derek. She opened it with shaking hands. I read over her shoulder. Natalie, you blocked my number and my email, so I had to reach out this way. I know you're reading this because I know you're investigating Derek. I've been monitoring his communications for 6 months, not because I care about him, but because I needed to know if he was a threat to you. After our divorce, I did a lot of therapy. Court-mandated at first, then voluntary. I learned what I did to you was abuse. Control disguised as love. Surveillance disguised as protection. I can't undo what I did, and I know you'll never forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. But when I saw Derek planning to kill Jake Morrison, and I saw you trying to stop it alone, I couldn't stay silent. You were right about me, Natalie. I was a monster. But you were also the only person who ever tried to save me from myself. So consider this my attempt to return the favor. I sent Martinez the evidence he needed to walk away. I'm sending the FBI everything I have on Derek, anonymously, through channels that can't be traced to you. Your secret is safe. Your career is safe. Derek will go to prison, and you won't have to sacrifice yourself to make it happen. This doesn't make us even. Nothing ever could. But maybe it means I learned something from you after all. Stay safe. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry. Raymond. Natalie's hands were shaking so hard she could barely hold the laptop. He's been watching me, she whispered. For 2 years. He never stopped watching me. He's been protecting you, I corrected gently. In the most twisted way possible, but still. How is stalking me protective? He tracked Derek. Saw the murder plot. Saw you trying to stop it. And instead of swooping in like some white knight, he gave you the tools to succeed. He gave Martinez a way out. He's tipping off the FBI without exposing you. I gestured at the screen. He's doing what you wished he'd done during your marriage, trusting you to handle your own life while providing backup. Tears streamed down her face. I hate that you're right. I hate that after everything he did, this one act of basic decency makes me feel grateful. You can be grateful and still hate him. Both things can be true. Another message from the unknown number. FBI field office address incoming. Get moving. Derek knows something is wrong. He's on his way to the truck stop. Shit. I looked at Martinez. You still willing to testify? He nodded, already packing up his tools. Then let's go. Natalie, you're riding with me. We'll sort out the emotional fallout after we don't die. She closed her laptop, wiped her eyes, and climbed into my truck. Martinez followed in his van. And somewhere behind us, according to Raymond's warning, Derek was racing to finish what he'd started. We had 2 hours to get to the FBI. The clock was ticking. The drive to Newark took 45 minutes. Natalie sat in my passenger seat, silent for the first 20 minutes, staring out the window as New Jersey's industrial landscape blurred past. He's been watching me this whole time, she finally said. 2 years of thinking I was free, and he was still there. Still in the shadows. But he didn't interfere, I pointed out. He didn't contact you. Didn't try to control you. He just watched. Made sure you were safe. That's still violation. I know. She turned to look at me. How are you so calm about all of this? Your ex-business partner is trying to kill you, we're driving to the FBI with a hired gun following us, and my psycho ex-husband is orchestrating everything from behind the scenes. I'm not calm, I admitted. I'm terrified. But I spent 3 years being angry and isolated and afraid of everyone. And you know what that got me. Nothing. No peace, no healing, just more loneliness. So yeah, this situation is insane. But at least I'm not alone in it. She smiled softly. Is that your way of saying you're glad I stalked you? I'm saying I'm glad you cared enough to try. Even if your methods were questionable. Questionable? Jake, I committed multiple felonies. So did Raymond. So did I, technically, by not reporting the tracker when I found it. We're all criminals here. Might as well be criminals together. She laughed, a real, genuine laugh that filled the cab. You're insane, she said. Says the woman who tracked a stranger across the country. Fair point. We drove in comfortable silence for a while, and I found myself stealing glances at her. The way she chewed her bottom lip when she was thinking. The way her fingers drummed against her knee in an unconscious rhythm. Can I ask you something? I said. Sure. When you first found out about Derek's plan, why didn't you just send an anonymous tip to the police? Why get involved personally? She considered this for a long moment. Because anonymous tips get ignored, she finally said. I learned that during my divorce. I sent the police photos of my bruises, recordings of Raymond's threats, everything. But without my name attached, without me willing to testify in person, it all went nowhere. So when I saw Derek's emails, I knew an anonymous tip wouldn't stop him. I needed evidence that would force action. And I needed to make sure you stayed alive long enough for that evidence to matter. So you appointed yourself my guardian angel. I appointed myself your extremely invasive guardian angel with boundary issues and a criminal record. She smiled wryly. Not exactly angelic behavior. Angels are overrated anyway. She looked at me, and something shifted in her expression. Something warmer. You know what's weird? She said softly. I've been watching you for 3 weeks. I know your route, your schedule, your favorite truck stops. But I don't actually know anything real about you. What's your favorite food? What music do you listen to? What did you want to be when you grew up? Really? We're doing getting to know you questions while running from a murderer. Humor me. I thought about it. Favorite food is my mom's lasagna, but she died 10 years ago, so I haven't had it since. Music is country, old country, none of this pop country crap. And I wanted to be a pilot, but I'm terrified of heights, so that didn't work out. Trucking was the compromise, still traveling, still freedom, but on the ground. That's perfect, she said. Very you. What about you? Favorite food is pho, the kind you have to wait in line for at tiny restaurants where no one speaks English. Music is sad indie rock, the kind that makes you feel your feelings. And I wanted to be a journalist. Uncover corruption, tell truth to power, All that idealistic stuff. What happened? I married someone who used information as a weapon. Kind of killed the appeal of investigation work. She paused. But I guess I'm doing it now, in a way. Just illegally. The best journalism usually is. She grinned. My phone buzzed. Raymond. 20 minutes to FBI office. Derek is 15 minutes behind you. He has a gun. Do not engage. Get inside the building and stay there. I showed Natalie the message. He has a gun, she whispered. Of course he has a gun. We'll be okay. We just have to stay ahead of him. But my hands tightened on the wheel. Jake. Yeah. If we die tonight. I'm glad it's with you. That sounds stupid, but I mean it. You're the first person in years who's treated me like I'm competent and damaged at the same time. Who doesn't try to fix me or dismiss me. Just sees me. I reached over and took her hand. If we die tonight, I'm glad it's with you too. You're the first person in 3 years who made me remember what it feels like to trust someone. She squeezed my hand. We're not going to die, she said firmly. We're going to walk into that FBI office, hand over all the evidence, and watch Derek get arrested. Then we're going to figure out what comes next. And what does come next? She met my eyes. I don't know. But I'd like to find out. If you're interested. My heart did something complicated in my chest. Yeah, I said. I'm interested. The FBI field office appeared ahead, a stark concrete building with American flags out front. Martinez's van was right behind us. And somewhere in the distance, Derek was racing to stop us. But for the first time in 3 years, I wasn't running alone. And that made all the difference. We made it inside the FBI building with 8 minutes to spare. The lobby was all security glass and metal detectors. A receptionist behind bulletproof glass looked up as we entered, followed by Martinez. We need to speak to someone immediately, I said. We have evidence of an attempted murder and insurance fraud. The receptionist looked skeptical. Do you have an appointment? No, we have a man with a gun on his way here to kill us, Natalie said, her voice sharp with panic. So maybe skip the bureaucracy and get us to an actual agent. Something in her tone must have registered, because the receptionist picked up a phone. 5 minutes later, we were sitting in a sterile interview room with Special Agent Caroline Rivera, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Natalie laid out everything. The hacked files, the emails, the insurance policy, Derek's financial records, Martinez's testimony. She spoke clearly, professionally, only her hands shaking giving away her fear. Agent Rivera listened, taking notes, her expression unreadable. When Natalie finished, Rivera turned to Martinez. And you're willing to testify? Provide recordings? Yes, ma'am. In exchange for immunity. That's not my call, but I can make recommendations. She looked at me. Mr. Morrison, you're the intended victim. Apparently. And you, Ms. Chen, obtained this information through illegal access to corporate servers. Natalie's face went pale. Yes. I know that's. That's a conversation for later. Rivera held up a hand. Right now, my priority is stopping an active threat. You said Derek Chen is en route. As if on cue, the fire alarm went off. Not the building alarm, my phone alarm. The emergency alert I'd set up years ago and never used. Someone was trying to break into my truck. He's in the parking lot, I said, pulling up the security app connected to my cab camera. He's trying to get into my rig. Rivera was on her feet immediately, speaking into a radio. Suspect in the parking lot. White male, late 30s, attempting vehicle break-in. Consider armed and dangerous. We watched through the interview room's window as agents poured out of the building. On my phone screen, Derek's face appeared, illuminated by the parking lot lights. He looked older than I remembered, haggard, desperate. He had a crowbar in one hand and was prying at my truck's door. Then he saw the agents. Everything happened fast. Derek dropped the crowbar and pulled a gun from his jacket. Agents shouted. Derek backed against my truck, wild-eyed, the gun waving between targets. Oh God, Natalie breathed. He's going to get himself killed. Or kill someone else, Rivera said grimly. Through the window, I watched Derek's mouth moving. couldn't hear the words, but could read his panic. He was looking at the building. Looking for me. Looking for Natalie. He knows we're in here, I said. He knows we have the evidence. Derek's gun turned toward the building. Natalie grabbed my arm. Jake, we need to. The gunshot was loud even through the glass. But Derek wasn't shooting at us. He'd turned the gun on himself. Agents rushed forward as Derek crumpled to the pavement, blood pooling beneath him. Natalie made a sound like all the air had been punched from her lungs. No, she whispered. No, no, no. Rivera was already moving, speaking into her radio, coordinating the response. But I couldn't look away from the scene outside. Derek, lying on the concrete. Derek, who'd stolen my wife, my business, my past. Derek, who'd tried to kill me for insurance money. Derek, who'd just chosen death over prison. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not grief. Just a vast, empty nothing. Natalie was crying, her hands covering her face. He didn't have to do that, she sobbed. He didn't have to. God, why didn't he just surrender? Because men like him don't surrender, I heard myself say. They destroy everything rather than face consequences. He was Raymond's cousin. They were close. This is going to destroy Raymond, and I don't know why I care, but I do, and I hate that I do, and... I pulled her into my arms, and she collapsed against me, shaking. Through the window, EMTs were working on Derek. But I could see from the agents' faces that it was over. Rivera returned to the interview room, her expression grim. He's gone, she confirmed. I'm sorry you had to witness that. What happens now? I asked, still holding Natalie. Now we process the scene. Take your statements. Contact Derek Chen's next of kin. She paused. This is going to be a long night. It was a long night. We spent hours giving statements, walking through evidence, answering questions. Martinez was taken to a separate room for his testimony. Somewhere around 2 a.m., they finally let us take a break. Natalie and I sat in the FBI break room, drinking terrible coffee, surrounded by vending machines and motivational posters. I thought I'd feel relieved, she said quietly. The threat's over. Derek's dead. We're safe. But I just feel empty. Yeah. Me too. She turned to look at me, and I saw the exhaustion etched into every line of her face. What if this is all we have? She asked. What if the only thing connecting us is trauma and danger? What if when the adrenaline wears off, we realize we're just two strangers who have nothing in common? The question hit like a physical blow, because I'd been thinking the same thing. I don't know, I admitted. Maybe you're right. Maybe this whole thing is just trauma bonding and proximity and... I don't want you to be another thing I lose, she interrupted, tears streaming again. I don't want to wake up tomorrow and realize that everything I felt tonight was just fear and chaos. But I also don't know how to trust that it's real. So we don't, I said. She looked at me, confused. We don't trust it yet, I continued. We take time. We see each other in normal circumstances. We figure out if this thing between us survives without someone trying to kill me. And if it doesn't, at least we were honest about it. You want to date me? Her voice was small, uncertain. After all this insanity. I want to try. If you do. She stared at her coffee cup for a long moment. Then she stood up. I can't, she whispered. Jake, I'm sorry. I thought I could, but I can't. This is too much. You're too much. Everything is too much. Natalie. I need to go. I need to process this alone. I need. She grabbed her bag and walked out of the break room. I sat there, stunned, as the door swung shut behind her. Agent Rivera appeared in the doorway moments later. She just left the building, she said. You want me to stop her? No, I said, my voice hollow. Let her go. Because what else could I do? Force someone to stay who'd spent years being forced? I'd just have to hope she'd choose to come back. 3 days passed. 3 days of police follow-ups, insurance investigations, and media coverage. Derek's death was ruled a suicide. The evidence Natalie had gathered was deemed inadmissible in criminal proceedings due to how it was obtained, but the FBI's independent investigation confirmed everything. Derek had been planning insurance fraud and murder. Martinez got his immunity deal in exchange for testimony about Derek's criminal activities. My truck passed a comprehensive safety inspection, no tampering detected. The insurance payout Derek had been counting on went to his estate, which meant his creditors. The business Derek and I had built together was dissolved, assets liquidated. I was officially free of my past. But Natalie was gone. No calls. No texts. No emails. I'd driven back to Portland, resumed my route, delivered my loads on time. Back to normal, or what passed for normal now. Except nothing felt normal. My truck cab felt empty without her in the passenger seat. Rest stops felt lonely without her voice on the phone. The highway stretched endlessly ahead, and for the first time in 3 years, the solitude I'd craved felt suffocating. On the 4th day, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Raymond Chen. I know you have no reason to trust me, but I need to tell you something about Natalie. I almost deleted it. Instead, I called. He answered on the first ring. Thank you for calling, he said, his voice rough. I wasn't sure you would. You have 60 seconds. Talk. Natalie is sitting in her apartment right now, miserable, convinced she made the right choice by walking away from you. She's telling herself it's for your protection. That she's too damaged, too dangerous, too much of a liability. She's doing what I trained her to do, isolating herself before someone else can hurt her. And you're telling me this why? Because I spent 5 years destroying the best thing that ever happened to me. I watched her light dim, watched her shrink, watched her become a shell of herself, all because I was too broken to see what I had. His voice cracked. I can't undo what I did. But I can stop her from making the same mistake I did. Which is choosing fear over love. She's terrified, Jake. Terrified that if she lets you in, you'll either leave or destroy her. But the truth is, you're the first person since me who she's trusted enough to be vulnerable with. And if she walks away from that, she'll spend the rest of her life alone. Like me. I sat in my truck, processing this. What do you want me to do? Go to Brooklyn. Show up at her door. Don't let her push you away. She needs someone to fight for her, not fight with her. Someone to prove that not all love is control. Not all vulnerability is weakness. Why are you helping us? Because maybe if I can help her find happiness, it'll balance out even a fraction of the pain I caused. He paused. And because Derek was my cousin. I knew he was struggling financially. I knew he was desperate. And I did nothing. His blood is on my hands too. The least I can do is make sure something good comes from this nightmare. He hung up before I could respond. I sat there for a long time, staring at my phone. Then I checked my route schedule, calculated the detour to Brooklyn. 48 hours if I pushed it. I started the engine. Natalie's apartment was in a converted brownstone in Park Slope. 4th floor, no elevator. I climbed the stairs, my heart pounding harder than the climb warranted. Knocked on the door. No answer. Knocked again. Go away. Her voice came through the door. I know it's you, Jake. Raymond texted me. And I appreciate the gesture, but I meant what I said. I can't do this. Can't or won't. I called back. Both. Neither. Does it matter? Open the door, Natalie. No. Then I'll stand here until you do. I've got nowhere to be for 48 hours. Silence. Then the sound of locks turning. The door opened. She looked terrible, hair unwashed, eyes red from crying, wearing sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt. She also looked beautiful. This is stupid, she said. You drove all the way here for what? To convince me we should date? Jake, we barely know each other. I know you take your coffee black with 2 sugars. I know you drum your fingers when you're nervous. I know you're brilliant and brave and so terrified of being hurt again that you'd rather hurt yourself first. That's not knowing someone. That's observing them. Then teach me the difference. Let me actually know you. Not the version you show the world, but the real you. The one who hacks corporate servers and tracks strangers and cries over sad indie music. Why? Her voice broke. Why do you care? Because I spent 3 years alone, Natalie. 3 years convincing myself that solitude was strength. That not needing anyone made me invincible. And then you showed up, with your illegal surveillance and your terrible decision-making and your refusal to let me die even though it meant risking everything. And for the first time in 3 years, I didn't feel alone. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm scared, she whispered. I'm so scared that if I let you in, you'll see all the broken parts and leave. Or worse, you'll stay and I'll ruin it because I don't know how to be in a relationship that isn't toxic. So we'll figure it out together. We'll make mistakes and forgive each other and try again. That's what normal people do, right? We're not normal people, Jake. We're disasters. Then we'll be disasters together. She stared at me, and I watched the war play out behind her eyes. Fear versus hope, isolation versus connection, safety versus risk. I have conditions, she finally said. Okay. We take it slow. Really slow. Like, embarrassingly slow. I need time to trust that this is real. Done. And you have to be honest with me. Even when it's hard. Even when you think I can't handle it. No protecting me from the truth. I can do that. And if it doesn't work, if we try and it falls apart, we have to be honest about that too. No dragging it out just because we survived something traumatic together. Agreed. She wiped her eyes, a small smile breaking through. You know this is crazy, right? We met because I was stalking you. Best meet cute ever, I deadpanned. She laughed, and the sound filled her tiny apartment with light. Come in, she said, stepping back. I'll make coffee. We can start the getting to know each other for real portion of this insane relationship. I followed her inside, and she closed the door behind us. And for the first time since finding that tracker under my truck, I felt like I'd finally arrived somewhere I was meant to be. 6 months later, I pulled my truck into a rest stop outside Pittsburgh, the familiar routine now feeling different, better, because Natalie was sitting in the passenger seat. She'd quit her corporate job 2 months ago. Said she couldn't keep pretending to be someone she wasn't in a 9-to-5 that drained her soul. Now she freelanced as a security consultant, working remotely from wherever my route took us. We're making terrible life choices, she said, grinning as she looked out at the parking lot. You know that, right? Living in a truck, working remotely, basically being nomads. Are you complaining? No. Just acknowledging the absurdity. She'd been doing that a lot lately, acknowledging, naming things, being present. Therapy was helping. We both went, separately and sometimes together. Learning how to be individuals who chose to be together, rather than people who needed each other out of desperation. It was hard. Some days were really hard. But it was also real. My phone buzzed. Raymond. He texted periodically, never intrusively, just checking in. Making sure Natalie was okay. Sharing resources about abuse recovery. Slowly, painfully, trying to become a better person. Natalie still hadn't forgiven him. Might never forgive him. But she acknowledged his efforts. Said it was more than most abusers ever did. The text was simple, how's the road? I showed it to Natalie. She typed a response. Good. We're good. You didn't have to respond, I said. I know. But he's trying. And I guess I can try too. Doesn't mean I trust him. Just means I acknowledge his making an effort. I pulled her close, kissed the top of her head. I'm proud of you. For what? Responding to a text. For not letting fear win. She tilted her head up to look at me. You know what's funny, she said. I spent 2 years alone, convinced I was better off that way. Safer. Then I found out someone was planning to murder a stranger, and my first instinct was to get involved. To protect you. Almost like I was looking for a reason to connect with someone again. Was I a good reason? You were the best reason. Even when you mailed my tracker to England. Still my finest moment. It really wasn't. We laughed, and it felt easy. Natural. Like we'd been doing this for years instead of months. On the dashboard, between the CB radio and the GPS, sat the tracker. The one that had started everything. Natalie had retrieved it from the confused person in Manchester, paid for return shipping, and now it lived in my truck as a reminder. Not of surveillance or violation, but of the lengths someone would go to protect a stranger. Of how fear could transform into courage. of how the worst thing that ever happened could lead to the best thing. Where to next? Natalie asked, pulling out her laptop to check my delivery schedule. Atlanta tomorrow. Then back to Seattle. 3-day turnaround. Perfect. I have a consultation call with a client in Seattle. I can do it from a coffee shop while you load up. Or you could do it from the truck. I'll give you privacy. Or we could get a hotel for one night. Actually sleep in a real bed. Take a real shower. Big spender. I'm a freelance consultant now. I can afford one hotel night a month. I started the engine, pulled back onto the highway. And as we drove into the sunset, because of course we were driving into the sunset, this was our life now, I thought about how strange it was. How a GPS tracker had led to a thwarted murder plot. How a thwarted murder plot had led to confronting my past. How confronting my past had led to meeting someone who understood my present. How meeting that someone had led to imagining a future I never thought I'd have. Hey Jake. Natalie said quietly. Yeah. Thank you. For what? For not giving up. On me. On us. For driving to Brooklyn and standing outside my door like some kind of romantic stalker. Technically, you stalked me first. Fair. But you stalked me with better intentions. Debatable. She laughed and leaned her head on my shoulder. And we drove on, two broken people who'd found each other through the worst circumstances and chosen to build something beautiful anyway. The road stretched ahead, endless and full of possibility. We had nowhere to be and everywhere to go. And for the first time in both our lives, that felt exactly right. 1 year after finding the tracker, I received a package. No return address. Just a Brooklyn postmark. Inside was a note from Raymond. Jake, I know I have no right to contact you directly, but I wanted you to know, I'm in therapy. Real therapy, not court-mandated crap. I'm working on being the person I should have been all along. I also wanted to give you this. Raymond. Wrapped in tissue paper was a small GPS tracker. But this one was different. Modified. Turned into a keychain, the electronics removed, just the shell remaining. A reminder of where we'd all been. And proof that sometimes, the things that track us down are exactly what we need to find our way home. I showed it to Natalie that night over dinner at a truck stop in Montana. She held it for a long moment, tears in her eyes. Then she attached it to her keys, right next to her apartment key and the spare key to my truck. We're keeping it. I asked. We're keeping it, she confirmed. Because it's ours now. Our story. Our beginning. Pretty weird beginning. The best things usually are. She was right. And as we finished our terrible truck stop coffee and planned our route for tomorrow, I looked at the woman across from me, this brilliant, damaged, brave person who tracked a stranger because she couldn't stand to see someone else get hurt, and I knew. This was love. Not the easy kind. Not the fairy tale kind. But the real kind. The kind that survives surveillance and murder plots and trauma and fear. The kind that chooses trust over safety. The kind that tracks you down and refuses to let go. The best kind. So here's my question for you. Have you ever had something terrible lead to something beautiful? A moment where the worst thing that happened became the catalyst for the best thing? Share your story in the comments, because I truly believe that sometimes we have to lose our way completely before we can find where we really belong. And maybe your story will be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as interesting and even more intriguing as can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.